Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu assures Saudi investors of safe investments in Nigeria. Court bars NLC TUC from embarking on nationwide strike. Plus, Bulgarians accused of spying for Russia to face trial in London court. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is news from Saudi Africa Summit in Riyadh, where President Bola Tinubu today assured potential investors that the investments are safe in Nigeria. Speaking at the Saudi Africa Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia President Tinubu said Nigeria is ready for business while assuring investors of some of the world's highest returns on investment. Tinubu stated that Nigeria is desirous of enhancing collaboration with Saudi Arabia on combating terrorist organizations such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other violent extremist groups which have been terrorizing the Lake Chad and Sahel regions. The president expressed confidence that the country's joint positive disposition within those platforms would continue to be demonstrated as they seek to advance their mutual interests. He further thanked the Middle East nation for the various humanitarian interventions in Nigeria through the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has described the death of Nigeria's first female Major General Aderonke Kale as a painful loss to the country. Kale, also the first female commander of the Nigerian Army Medical Corps, died on Thursday at the age of 84. Tinubu, in a condolence statement signed by his special advisor, Media and Publicity, Ajirin Galale, also sympathized with the Kale family, the Nigerian Army, and the Society of Medical Practitioners in Nigeria on the passing of one of their own. Tinubu stated that as a pioneer in her field, the late Major General embodied the courage, professionalism, capacity, and resilience of the Nigerian woman. The president prayed for the repose of the soul of the late officer and encouraged her beloved family to take solace in the peerless legacy she left behind. Away from that, the federal government, through the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha, has said that plans are underway to launch a roadmap for removing 80% of unemployed youths from the streets. Onyejocha challenged top managers at the National Directorate of Employment (NDE) to sit up for the challenge, promising a new National Directorate of Employment (NDE) to execute the job at the ongoing Lagos International Trade Fair with the theme connecting businesses, creating value in the nation's economic capital. The minister stressed NDE's crucial role in tackling unemployment through provision of skills and entrepreneurship opportunities for young Nigerians. In a statement by her special advisor, Media Emame Gabriel, Onyejocha urged NDE managers to focus on combating unemployment without compromise. According to her, the president has given a clear mandate to address the challenge decisively. In the meantime, the federal government has called on international partners to intervene in the humanitarian crisis in Benue State. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, made the call in Makadi during her visit to the Ichwa internally displaced persons camp. Edu said government would write to the headquarters of international donors to seek assistance to resettle the IDPs. Reports say Ichwa is one of the 13 official IDP camps located across the state. Now from the seat of the red chambers, where the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has said that other countries will learn from Nigeria after 50 years of democracy. He said this when he received the Irish ambassador to Nigeria, Peter Ryan, in his office in Abuja. According to Akpabio, the 59th president of the Interparliamentary Union, Nigeria needs a lot of assistance, collaboration and bonding to learn from other democratic nations like Ireland. The Senate President also spoke about the spate of kidnappings across the country, particularly in the Niger Delta. He said the menace has abated largely through the efforts of the previous administration. According to him, Nigeria's democracy would have significantly developed by 2073. Now from the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives has mandated its committees on foreign affairs, human rights and diaspora to investigate the incessant mistreatment of Nigerians living in the Republic of Benin and report back to the House for further legislative action. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion on the illegal incarceration of Okumab Chika and discriminatory arrests of Nigerians in the Republic of Benin, which was moved by O.K. Chinder, Fred Agbedi, Beatrice Lawn, among others at plenary. Chinder noted that Okuma Chika, a Nigerian who legitimately and legally resides and works in the Republic of Benin, is alleged to have been arrested by the country's police service in April 18, 2023. He raised concern that Chika, who after his undergraduate academic program in the Republic of Benin, worked as an administrative staff at Asfam University in Port Novo, has been incarcerated at the Accra Miserete prison since April 26, 2023, over allegations of internet fraud. Moving on now to the judiciary, where the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has affirmed the victory of Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah in the March 18 governorship election. The court dismissed the appeal filed by the Labour Party governorship candidate Chijioke Edoga as lacking in merit and upheld the judgment of the Enugu Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal delivered in September. The three-member panel, led by Justice Tijani Yusuf Hassan, held that the appellant failed to prove that Mbah forged his National Youth Service Corps NYC certificate and was not qualified to contest the election. The judgment comes days after the ruling of the Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday, awarding 5 million naira in damages against the NYC for claiming that its discharge certificate held by Mbah was fake. Judge Nyankwo held that the NYC and its Director General were guilty of misrepresentation of material facts. Meanwhile, the Appeal Court Lagos Division has reaffirmed Thaddeus Attar of the Labour Party as the duly elected House of Representatives member representing Etiosa Federal Constituency in Lagos State. The National Assembly Election Petitions Tribunal, which sat at the Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, had earlier invalidated Attar's victory. Attar had, through his counsel, Professor Michael Zekome, appealed the tribunal judgment. Delivering judgment in the matter, the three-member panel of the Court of Appeal set aside the decision by the National Assembly Elections Petition Tribunal. The panel, in its unanimous decision, agreed with Ozekome and held that the lower tribunal erred when it relied on the evidence of witnesses who were not party agents where elections were held or where elections were cancelled, but who only came to tender Form EC8, which they did not author before the court. In the meantime, Justice Nyankwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja has refused the request by the Lamidi Apapa's faction to stop the candidate of the Labour Party, Ethan Achonu, from contesting this Saturday's governorship election in Imo State on the platform of the party. The request, brought by this faction through its counsel Mohammed Ndarani Mohammed, a senior advocate of Nigeria, was outrightly rejected by the judge today for being premature. At today's ruling, Justice Akor held that he had perused through the affidavit evidence of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and that of Apapa's side, and found contentious issues that cannot be resolved through the ex parte motion as sought by Apapa's side. Justice Akor said from the totality of the claims by Apapa's faction and the counterclaims of INEC that the dispute is deeply rooted and cannot be resolved through the granting of interim injunction as requested by Apapa's group. Still on court matters, the National Industrial Court today restrained the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), Trade Union Congress (TUC), as well as their affiliates from embarking on any form of strike or industrial action. The two labor unions were ordered to stop their planned nationwide strike, scheduled to commence on November 14. President of the court, Justice Benedict Bakwa Kanyep, issued the restraining order following an ex parte application to that effect brought before the court by the federal government of Nigeria and the Attorney General of the Federation (AGF) and Minister of Justice. Justice Kanyep invoked Section 17 and 19 of the National Industrial Court Act to issue the restraining order against the organized labor. The federal government and the AGF, through their lawyer Tijani Ghazali, had in the ex parte application prayed the court to stop the planned strike. They said this was to avert untold hardships that would be inflicted on innocent, law-abiding citizens and their businesses. In another development, the president of Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), Joe Ajaero, today gave an account of how he was brutalized in Imo State, saying police operatives handed him over to some suspected thugs for beating. The NLC president narrated his traumatic experience at a World Press Conference in Abuja. The development is coming barely 24 hours before the governorship election in Imo State. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Ajaero, who wore a dark shade to cover his swollen eyes, lamented that the kind of beating he received after security agents handed him over to the alleged thugs was better imagined than explained. This was even as he claimed the NLC wrote to intimate all the security agencies about the protest before the fateful day. His account contradicted an earlier statement by the Imo State Police Command, which said the NLC president was taken into protective custody to save him from a mob attack. In a related development, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Adeolu Egbetokun, has ordered a thorough probe into the allegation of assault on the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), Comrade Joe Ajaero. Recall that on November 1, Ajaero was picked up at the NLC Secretariat in Owerri by heavily armed policemen at the time of his arrest. He was leading a statewide protest and strike in the Imo State capital over what the Congress described as a lack of respect for workers, unpaid salaries and pensions, amongst others. More than a week after the incident, the IGP said the investigation is to ascertain the facts surrounding the incident and to address any ambiguities that may exist. Specifically, the IGP directed the Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department to take over the matter, stressing the importance of transparency and accountability in maintaining public trust. The police boss assured the public, especially the leadership of the organized labor, that a thorough and unbiased inquiry would be conducted. This, he noted, is to provide clarifications while urging organized labor and the public to remain calm, as he has personally intervened to address the issues surrounding the incident. In a separate development, the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has assured residents of Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo states of their security during the governorship elections in the states. This is as he warned political actors against any act of violence in the states. Ribadu stressed that there would be severe consequences for anyone found trying to disrupt the elections in the three states. According to a statement today by the head Strategic Communication Office of the National Security Advisor Zakari Mijinyawa, Ribadu noted a monitoring system had been established with monitors deployed to the field to collect any evidence of violence and irregularities. The NSA assured all that in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu, security agencies have made adequate preparations to ensure safe, secure, and transparent elections. Still on electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced the distribution of sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the governorship election in Bayelsa State, less than 24 hours to the exercise. The electoral body also distributed life jackets across the 8 local government areas of the state where the governorship election will be held. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has again assured free, fair and credible elections in the November 11 governorship polls in Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo states. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, gave the assurance in his message on the off-cycle governorship polls. Yakubu, however, noted that the Commission cannot conduct credible elections alone, noting that other stakeholders must play their parts. The INEC chairman also re-emphasized that INEC was not a political party and therefore has no candidate in the election. In the meantime, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has also said that electoral staff in Saturday's governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states must demonstrate the highest level of patriotism and professionalism. The INEC chairman, in a statement, noted that the Commission's responsibility is to safeguard the process and ensure a level playing field for all political parties and their candidates. He added that the choice of who becomes the governor of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states is entirely in the hands of voters. In a related development, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) has deployed its operatives to monitor the Saturday governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. The spokesperson of the commission, Azuka Ogugwa, said this in a statement in Abuja. According to her, the Commission's operatives have been deployed to the 56 local government areas and 649 wards in the 3 states where the election would be held. Ogugwa added that the operatives were to, among others, monitor and prevent vote buying and other electoral malpractices at the various polling units during the election. Elsewhere, ahead of Saturday's governorship election, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has deployed its operatives to Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa states. EFCC's spokesman, Dele Oyewale, stated that agents of the anti-graft agency would be in the states to monitor Saturday's governorship election. Speaking with journalists in Abuja, Oyewale said the deployment aimed to checkmate vote buying, selling, and other forms of electoral fraud. Oyewale emphasized that the monitoring team sent to the 3 states would also address any attempts to manipulate the electoral processes, which would be in violation of the Electoral Act. Away from that now, the Lagos State government has announced a diversion of traffic on the Marine Bridge as part of the continuation of repair works by the Federal Ministry of Works. Marine Bridge is located between Ijora and Ajegunle in the Apapa area of the state. In a statement today, the Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiemi, said the traffic diversion would begin the same day and last till Thursday, December 21, 2023. Meanwhile, the government has provided alternative routes for motorists for the project's duration, urging motorists to ply the Marine Bridge access road to Area B and make a U-turn at Point Junction Road towards Marine Bridge to continue their journeys. Oshiemi appealed to motorists for their patience while applying the diversion routes, affirming that traffic officers from the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority (LASMA) would be deployed to manage traffic flow and minimize inconveniences. Still to come in the news. UK economy stagnates in Q3. Do stay with us.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment. For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news from the world. Watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Born truth, not often.
Many thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to Africa, where UN's refugee agency UNHCR has said it is alarmed by the escalating fighting in Sudan's Darfur region. It says around 800 people have been killed following recent clashes between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces RSF. According to a local civil society group, the Roots Organization for Human Rights, as many as 1,300 have died since last Friday around the city of El Geneina and blames the RSF for the killings. The UNHCR says that in last week alone, at least 8,000 people have fled into neighboring Chad, some of whom say they have been subjected to sexual violence, torture, and extortion. Meanwhile, the RSF is alleged to have targeted the region's non-Arab population, something which it has previously denied. Meanwhile, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has undergone successful shoulder surgery in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. According to his office, Mohammed is recovering well from the minor medical operation. It did not give further details, however, about what happened to his shoulder. Reports say the president stayed in Abu Dhabi for a few days, where he also met top Emirati officials. He later traveled to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to attend the Saudi Africa Summit. Still in Africa, Kenya's President William Ruto has faced some criticisms following his first State of the Nation address on Thursday, in which he called for austerity measures. Critics say the president failed to adequately address how he was going to address the mounting concerns about the worsening cost of living. Some also called him out for promising to cut wasteful expenditure, yet spending millions on foreign travel with his latest trip to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Kenyans have faced growing taxes and levies since President Ruto came to power last year, which have contributed to an increase in the prices of basic commodities like food and fuel. Still in Kenya, where Paul Mackenzie, the Kenyan man accused of leading a cult and being responsible for the deaths of more than 400 people, has been found guilty on separate charges. A court in the coastal town of Malindi convicted him of illegally operating a film studio associated with his preaching and distributing films without a valid filming license. Reports say some of his sermons are still available online. The magistrate, however, acquitted him of the offense of inciting children against attending school. Mackenzie could face imprisonment of up to 5 years or pay a fine. Sentencing has been scheduled for next month. Meanwhile, Mackenzie has not been formally charged in relation to the death of hundreds of his alleged followers, despite being in custody since April. The discovery of the bodies in shallow graves in the forest shocked Kenya earlier in the year. In the meantime, the South Sudanese children are calling on the authorities to improve the quality of learning in the country amid worrying reports that there are more than 2 million children out of school. In an extraordinary child-led parliamentary session organized by charity Save the Children, the young people demanded that their right to access decent education was respected. According to reports, the session held in the capital Juba under the theme "My Voice, My Right" was aimed at fostering dialogue and getting decision makers to hear children's voices. Meanwhile, representatives of children from the country's 10 states took part in the face-to-face session with other children who joined in remotely. Elsewhere, intense fighting reportedly continues in Sudan's capital Khartoum and in the western region of Darfur, where hundreds are said to have been killed in the ongoing clashes. Witnesses told newsmen that bodies littered the streets of Omdurman city in the latest escalation of violence between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF. According to the International Organization for Migration IOM, in the west of the country, about 700 people have reportedly been killed. Still in Africa, the head of Madagascar's lower house of parliament has called for the suspension of next week's presidential elections following weeks of opposition protests. Christine Razanamhosa, who led a mediation group to try to resolve the political crisis, said the current climate in the country did not allow for a free and credible vote to be held as scheduled on 16th November. She said the polls should be delayed to ensure what she called peace and harmony in the country. Madagascar has been paralyzed by a power struggle between the incumbent Andry Rajoelina and the former president Marc Ravalomanana. The University of Pretoria law professor DTH Channel has made history by becoming the first South African elected as a judge at the UN International Court of Justice. President Cyril Ramaphosa today hailed Professor Channel's election as an outstanding personal achievement in which the nation shares with great pride. He is one of 5 judges who were elected on Thursday by the UN's General Assembly and the Security Council for 9 years term, beginning February next year. ICJ is the UN's main judicial body, providing legal advice to UN agencies and settling legal disputes between countries. Still in Africa, a diphtheria outbreak has been reportedly declared at South Africa's Pollsmoor maximum security prison following the death of a 19-year-old inmate. South Africa's health minister, Joe Fowler, said the male inmate who contracted the disease last month died on Sunday. According to him, 8 more inmates aged 18 to 23 are in isolation after testing positive for the disease. He added that a vaccination drive in the affected section of the prison is underway. Elsewhere, prosecutors in Burundi are seeking life imprisonment for former Prime Minister Alain Guillaume Bunyoni, who is on trial for 7 charges, including using supernatural powers to threaten the president's life. The prosecutors also called for Bunyoni to pay damages equivalent to twice the value of the 153 houses and plots of land and 43 vehicles belonging to him, in addition to a fine of 7.1 million Burundian francs. Reports say Bunyoni's trial started in September, a year after he was fired by President Evariste Ndayishimiye over suspicions that he was plotting a coup against him. Bunyoni, who is also accused of undermining national security, subverting government institutions, destabilizing the economy, and enriching himself through illegal means, pleaded not guilty to all charges and asked to be acquitted, citing a lack of tangible evidence against him. The foreign scene, the United Nations today said almost 50,000 people have been displaced by fighting in northern Myanmar after an alliance of ethnic armed groups launched an offensive against the military 2 weeks ago. Fighting has raged for 2 weeks across northern Shan state near the Chinese border in what analysts say poses the biggest military challenge to the genre since it seized power in 2021. Meanwhile, the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army MNDAA, Tang National Liberation Army TNLA, and Arakan Army AA say they have seized dozens of military outposts and blocked vital trade routes to China. Reports say restrictions on transport and availability of cash were hindering efforts by local humanitarian groups to give out aid. So on the foreign scene, the Hamas government in the Gaza Strip says an Israeli strike on the territory's largest hospital has killed 13 people. The government in a statement noted that 13 martyrs and dozens have been wounded in Al-Shifa in central Gaza City. And while the Israeli army has repeatedly accused Hamas of using hospitals, particularly Al-Shifa, to coordinate the attacks against the army and also as hideouts for its commanders. Meanwhile, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has approved the world's first vaccine for chikungunya, which it sees as an emerging global health threat. The agency said the mosquito-borne disease causes fever and joint pains and can be fatal to newborns. The FDA's approval is expected to speed up the vaccine's global rollout. Reports say about 440,000 chikungunya cases, including 350 deaths, have been reported as of September this year. In the meantime, a judge at the Old Bailey Court has ruled today that 5 Bulgarian nationals accused of working as part of a Russian spy ring in the UK will go on trial next year. Vanya Gabarova, aged 29, Olin Rozov, aged 45, Biza Jambazov, aged 41, Katrin Ivanova, aged 32, and Ivan Stoyanov, aged 31, are charged with conspiracy to collect information that may be useful to a foreign power between August 30, 2020 and February 8, 2023. The defendants appeared by video link from prison. Jambazov and Ivanova, a couple living at the same North London address, and Rozov, arrested in a 3-star hotel in the seaside town of Great Yarmouth, faced the additional charge of possessing false identity documents. Reports say the trial allegedly impersonated journalists with the intent to survey targets in the UK, Germany, and Montenegro. Still on the foreign scene, Hungary's Prime Minister says Ukraine is not ready to begin talks on future membership in the European Union, signaling again that his country could pose a roadblock to Kiev's ambitions to join the bloc. He said today he does not support moving forward on negotiations on Ukraine's future membership in the European Union, signaling again that his country could pose a major roadblock to Kiev's ambitions to join the bloc. Meanwhile, EU leaders are to decide in mid-December whether Ukraine should be formally invited to begin talks to join the 27-member union, with Hungary seen as a potential obstacle. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's business news. I am Blessing Dixon. In the news, the UK economy failed to grow between July and September after a succession of interest rate rises, according to reports. The Chancellor said higher rates were hitting growth, but added that the economy had performed better than expected this year. Analysts say the economy is set to be stagnant for several months. Last week, the Bank of England said the UK was likely to see zero growth until 2025, although it is expected to avoid a recession. Meanwhile, up until September, the Bank of England had raised interest rates 14 times in a row to try to tame soaring price. Rising rates can reduce inflation, which indicates the pace at which price rises. It also affects economic growth by making it more expensive for consumers and businesses to grow money. Interest rates are at 15-year high of 5.25% and are expected to remain high for some time. In Africa, Nigeria and Saudi Arabia have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed to enhancing energy cooperation between the two nations and promoting capital investment. In a statement, the Minister of Petroleum Resources and Oil, Senator Heniken Lopobori, signed on behalf of the federal government, while the Energy Minister of Saudi Arabia, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, signed for his country. The primary goal of the Memorandum of Understanding is to foster collaboration, information exchange, and technology transfer, creating an environment conducive to a mutually beneficial partnership. Meanwhile, the Saudi Investment Minister Khalid Al-Falih said the kingdom's over $700 billion wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund, would make some game-changing investments in Africa. Away from that, the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, says the key to Africa's prosperity lies in exporting value-added agricultural products. He made these remarks during the 2023 Africa Investment Forum Marketplace in Marrakesh, Morocco, with a theme centered around unlocking Africa's value chains. He stressed that Africa must contribute to global food security by becoming a major player in food and agriculture on the global stage. Additionally, revealed that the bank has contributed $853 million and mobilized over $661 million from other development partners to support the establishment of the special agro-industrial processing zones. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the last trading day of the week, and a total of 556.7 million shares in 6,308 deals, corresponding to a market value of 5.562 billion naira, were traded. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows a 2% decline in volume, 67% decline in turnover, but 2% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange stands at 38.9 trillion naira. 123 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 33 gainers and 14 losers. VFD Group led the gainers with a 9.97 share price appreciation, closing at 202 naira 90 kobo per share. On the losing side, Capitan Offshore Support Group came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.52% at 1 naira 33 kobo per share. Jopol Gold and Ventures recorded the highest volume of 165 million traded shares. This is Oil and Business News, and back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Hey, thanks, Blessing. Still to come in the news. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Man United deal closed. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to health, where the Edo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency says the prevention and treatment of neglected tropical diseases (NTDs) will be included in the second round of oral polio vaccination in the state. The Health Education Officer of the agency, Irene Oabo, disclosed this during the Social Mobilization Committee stakeholders meeting for the second round of polio vaccination in Benin. Oabo noted that NTDs drugs would be given to children above 5 years and adults in the 6 endemic local government areas of the state. She further explained that the second round of the polio vaccination for children under 5 years would commence from November 11 through November 16, 2023. Still in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has called on agro-allied operators in the country to ensure the use of appropriate and safe feeds. NAFDAC said the use of safe feeds for animals would help safeguard the health of humans and animals. The Director of Veterinary Medicine and Allied and Product, NAFDAC, Dr. Rametu Mamodu, made the call during the Agro-Merit Industrial Outreach in Abeokuta. She also sought more cooperation from the Poultry Association of Nigeria at the national level for effective collaboration towards the development of the industry through efficient regulatory practices. Let's head over now to Utaba David for latest sports stories.
Hello, good evening and welcome. Thank you very much for joining. In sports, Manchester United and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are hopeful of announcing their partnership over the international break. British billionaire Ratcliffe, a chairman and CEO of chemical company Ineos, is set to acquire a 25% stake in the club for around $1.25 billion. It has been almost a year since United's American owners, the Glazer family, announced they were considering selling the club side. Both Ratcliffe and Qatari businessman Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad submitted bids for a full takeover worth around $5 billion, but neither offer was accepted by the Glazers, and instead they are set to agree to a new deal which Ratcliffe will allow him to keep majority shareholding. Supporters are organizing a demonstration ahead of Saturday's Premier League match against Luton Town at Old Trafford in protest at the Glazers' decision to remain in charge. Moving on, Tottenham Hotspur duo James Maddison and Mickey van der Ven will both be out of action until New Year. Tottenham were already destined to be without 6 first-team players when they travelled to Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday, but Hans Postecoglou has now confirmed both van der Ven and James Maddison will miss the rest of the calendar year with injuries sustained against Chelsea on Monday. Van der Ven limped off with a hamstring injury before half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, while James Maddison was withdrawn, initially as a precaution with an ankle problem, which has seen him being ruled out of England's squad. Postecoglou will be without 3 of the back 4 who started against Chelsea on Monday, owing to suspensions to Christian Romero and Destiny Udogie following their red cards in the same game, as well as Van der Ven's injury. Finally, Brighton have protected the future of young forward Evan Ferguson by extending his contract until 2029. Ferguson scored 15 goals in 43 senior games, including his first half hat-trick against Newcastle in September. The Republic of Ireland striker became the club's youngest Premier League scorer when he knitted against Arsenal at 18 years and 73 days last December. Evan Ferguson, Brighton's Young Player of the Season for 2022 and 2023 season, had previously signed a contract in April, keeping him at the club until 2028. Club teammate Karol Mitoma also signed a new contract last month in a deal running until 2027. Brighton may expect interest from other clubs in Ferguson, given an expressive emergence at such a young age. Ferguson joined the Seagulls from Irish club Bohemians in January 2021. And that's what we have for you on sports this evening. I am Utaba David.
Many thanks, Utaba. And now on entertainment news, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has announced her latest media feature in the upcoming docu-series by filmmaker Mo Abudu. Iweala, in a post via her official X handle, formerly known as Twitter, shared the news alongside behind-the-scene images with Abudu. Meanwhile, Iweala's journey into the world of finance will be explored in the upcoming series. Still in entertainment news, American-Canadian actor Matthew Perry's death certificate has been released by the LA County Department of Public Health nearly a week after he was laid to rest. Reports say authorities have filed paperwork finalizing Matthew Perry's passing. Recall that the 54-year-old actor was found dead in his hot tub on October 28 and was laid to rest at a private funeral on November 3. However, the cause of death is still deferred. Meanwhile, Nigerian filmmaker and actress Funke Akindele has released the official trailer for her upcoming movie, A Tribe Called Judah. The movie follows the story of a family of boys who decide to rob a small mall with the help of their mother. However, on getting there, they are faced with armed robbers. Meanwhile, the film is set to premiere on December 15, 2023 and will feature a star-studded cast that includes Funke Akindele, Jide Achufusi, Timinia Buson, Uzi Usman, Toby Makinde, Olumide Oworu, Ebele Okaro, Uzo Arukwe, Nse Baitem, Genoveva Ume, Faithia Williams, Nosa Rags, Greg Ojefwa, Ibrahim Yakini, Bomar Kwore, Pascaline Alex, Etinosa Idemudia, Juliana Olayode, and Yvonne Jegade. A Tribe Called Judah is the second production under the Funke Akindele Network Company, which was officially launched a few days ago. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, popular disc jockey Florence Otedola, also known as Cuppy, has shared a cryptic post about close people turning into strangers. According to many, she was indirectly referring to her failed relationship with the former love of her life, Rand Taylor. It would be recalled that Cuppy had met and fallen in love with a British boxer in 2022. They got engaged and everything was gearing up towards their getting married. They had been into each other. The thought of their separation had felt absorbed and inconceivable. However, their separation left many netizens shocked and unhappy. The duo subsequently unfollowed each other on social media, further confirming their breakup. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Have a terrific night rest and happy weekend ahead. Bye for now.